What is up, my fellow golf ball addicts? I have another review for you today, and we are reviewing three kind of unknown underground brands, or maybe just kind of cheaper store brands. But we have the Bigga golf ball today. We also have the Athletic Works that a lot of you have been asking for, and we even have the Nitro Ultimate Distance. Let's get through this. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching and supporting this channel. I appreciate it a lot. If you want to support further, we do have a membership. It just starts at $1 a month, and there's also some ways to support in the link that is in my description as well. I appreciate everyone who does that. And if you can't because the economy's tough, liking and commenting and subscribing is awesome too. I really appreciate all the free stuff as well. Okay, so these golf balls are not as well known, but that's okay. Here at Golf Ball Addict, we believe that every golf ball deserves a test, and that includes the Nitro Ultimate Distance, unfortunately. But who knows? Sometimes golf balls like this have surprised us. Let's go ahead and dive in here. These are all going to be two-piece models. And if we look at the pricing and just the overall look of these golf balls, as you can see, let's start with the Bigga golf ball. Now, Bigga Golf is actually a company that I met at the PGA show. Two nice young gentlemen, just creating a ball just for anyone, just kind of getting into that whole COVID thing, where everyone's creating a golf ball now. But you know what? Sometimes these are really good. As you can see, the price point's $30 a dozen, and I'm not wild about that because it is just a regular two-piece golf ball. I like that it's made of DuPont Surlyn. That's some of the best Surlyn you can get on the market. These golf balls usually do really well. 352 dimple pattern, so it is designed to kind of get up in the air a little bit, probably maybe for your mid-swingers, not quite maybe slow swingers, but we'll see. And then when it comes to compression, I don't honestly know. They don't list it. And then if we get into the colors, it comes in a yellow, it comes in a white. Then if we move to the Athletics golf ball, anywhere between $6 and $15 a dozen. You can buy them in bulk on Walmart. You can get them in like a 48 pack. There's a lot of different options there. They even come in a bag at that point. They also sell them in these individual sleeves, which used to be $2.99 a sleeve. Now they've gone up to $4 a sleeve or close to it. It's an 85 compression. It's a two-piece. It's an iometer. It does not list how many dimples it is, and I don't feel like counting them. That's a lot. So only comes in the white color, but again, it's also very, very cheap. So that's why it's so cheap. Then if we move into the Nitro Ultimate Distance, anywhere between $9 and $12 a dozen. It comes in a variety of colors. It's made of just a basic Surlyn, and it really doesn't list much else about it. It doesn't list the compression, and it doesn't list the dimples. So I don't know much. There's a lot we're in the dark about. A lot of these companies that produce these really cheap golf balls, actually not even that. There's other companies that have just stopped listing the compressions altogether. Compressions become such a relative term over the last few years that a lot of companies are just not mentioning them. So maybe that has something to do with it, but yeah, there you go. I mean, you see what you get. The only thing that truly concerns me is that $30 price point from the Bigga ball, because that's such a high price point for a two-piece golf ball. It's got to perform really, really well, especially if I'm going to try to convince any of you to go out and actually purchase it, or maybe it's worth a try. Most of you have probably never heard of this, and anyway, it just seems like a high price point. It seems like earlier in the year they were $27, and I thought that was high, but we'll see the test. We'll let the numbers decide that. Not trying to give a pre-notion or anything, but we'll let the number and data talk later. Okay, so with that, we know what it costs. We know what they're about, sort of. Let's get out to the chipping and putting green and let's see how they do around there. All right, starting with the Bigga ball. Let's see what we got here. Oh, very nice. Yeah, not really any rotation on that. Not much really tug at all. Now, I will admit the green is just a little tiny bit wet from like a little sprinkle we just had, so I have to keep that into account. So I'm really looking for the rotation there. I'm looking for the bite. Just didn't see any, unfortunately. Let's try it one more time. I don't think that golf ball could have came off the green any faster. Now, as far as the feel, it's very dead in the hands. It has a good amount of spring to it. It actually feels, I would say, just slightly above average. I mean, it feels decent. It just really comes off the club with minimal effort. I'm gonna try one more time here to get any type of rotation. Low spinner. No, yeah, you could tell like the ball kind of wanted to, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, not even a little bit. Yeah, this definitely feels like it would be more of a good, bump and run ball, maybe for an intermediate or a beginner, just someone who's wanting to bump and run and get some consistency. One more time here, try to hit a cut. There we go. Okay, so, oh, hey, how about that? Did you see that? Flop Master 9000? Heck yeah, brother.
Okay, so I'll give it the 5% because if I do hit that cut aggressively, I do see a tiny bit, so it avoids the 0, but I mean, really, it's a bump and run ball. It kind of has a mid to high flight based on what I'm seeing. Yeah, I'd say more of a mid flight. Get in there again, baby. All right, so now we're gonna move on to athletic works. Okay, nice mid flight again. Soft landing, a little bit of tug there, but I need to see if that's the soft green from the rain or if it's, okay, so a little high launch there. Yeah, no, again, I had 0 rotation on that. It was just slightly mishit and there was 0 rotation on it. Nice. Oh, wow, that was such a nice, clean hit. Again, really dead, no sound whatsoever, just minimal feedback in the hands, kind of low feedback. All right, let's look at the left spin. I actually did get a little bit of left spin on that. So now we're at 5%, maybe even higher. Let me try the cut. Yeah, just 5%. Okay, it gets the 5%, it avoids the 0. Nitro, ultimate distance. Nice, beautiful. Boy, right at the hole. But because there's not an ounce of rotation, there's not an ounce of anything, I'll try this one more time. I won't even waste your time. Seems like it has a mid launch. I'm surprised these aren't more of a high launch. Yeah, no, they're definitely more mid. Now that ball had some bass effect. I might have mishit it. I'm gonna try a cut here as well, just to see. Yep. Yeah, just a tiny bit. So, I mean, they're all 5%. I don't see any bite. I don't see any tug. If you really aggressively try to put some spin on them, you can get a little bit of a reaction out of them, but that's about it. So these are bump and run balls designed at a beginner or intermediate. Now, real quick, I do want to address something. This is a criticism I've seen a lot lately, and I know there's a lot of confusion when I say chug effect. There's been a lot of new people come to the channel, and when I talk about chug, there's been a few that have been heavily critical in the comments that talk about, you know, chug effect is because my putting motion is bad or I'm the one doing it, all that stuff. I want to clarify something. When I say chug effect, this is what I'm talking about, okay? A lot of the time, if you have a really soft, squishy golf ball and you have a really heavy, you know, mallet type putter, sometimes what I'll see with a golf ball, and it can be a tour golf ball, it can be a cheap golf ball, it doesn't matter, it just depends, is what I will see is if this golf ball is a little too squishy, what happens is it kind of absorbs into the putter just a little too long, and I see it spring off really fast. And when it springs off really fast, it kind of has to adjust and then it finds a consistent roll. I call that chug effect because of the way it looks. It comes off the putter and it kind of chugs a little bit and it kind of gives that feel, right? That's what I'm talking about. A lot of you think I'm just looking at the roll itself, and because the roll kind of skids and you hear that on the mic because the mic is really good and you hear the skid, it has nothing to do with that skid, nothing. And I'm seeing more and more comments about it, about how, you know, anyway, I'm not gonna get into that. But my point is that that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the roll itself as far as how consistently it rolls off the putter, how beautiful and consistent of a roll it gets all the way to the hole, and then that's how I gauge it. So I just wanted to clarify that up so everyone knows that's what goes on with it. Sometimes it happens with the blade, sometimes it happens with the mallet. The main reason I bring it up is because some golf balls just have such an inconsistent roll, it's hard to putt with them. So just so everyone's clear on that. All right, starting with the Bigga ball. Very nice, actually. Very pleasant, really good sound, really good kind of like a medium, like low click. It was nice. Distance control seemed, I have to keep in mind, it's not super wet. It was just a light sprinkle, but I got to keep that in mind. Distance control seemed pretty normal. I'm going to try one more time here. It's got a little spring to it for sure. I mean, it's kind of borderline. It definitely bounces off with authority. It has a very, very nice roll, which I like to see. It's pleasant to hit. Yeah, there's not really much chug effect at all. That's nice. Next up is the Athletic Works. Yeah, again, a really nice soft touch, a little short there. So actually distance control seems perfectly normal with this. It doesn't seem like it has a lot of bouncy ball to it. Pretty decent roll though. I like the sound. The sound is just kind of barely there, and it's nice. It's pleasant. It's not overly aggressive. It's just enough to give you some feedback. There's a slight low press in the hand so I can feel it, so it's not dead, which I like actually. I don't prefer no feedback. Oh, that's nice. I like that, yeah. And if I'd quit leaving them short, I might make a few. My goodness. All right, now we have the Nitro. This is the ultimate distance. Yeah, again, they all kind of feel very similar. That, again, is going to be normal on the distance control. It doesn't have a lot of spring. The Bigga definitely has more of a bouncy ball compared to the other two. However, when it comes to this Nitro, actually, I'm kind of impressed. The roll seems really, really good. Yeah, feedback's nice. Sound is great. I like that. I could definitely putt with that and get some confidence for sure. Okay, so maybe I just suck. Maybe it has nothing to do with the fact I'm leaving them short, but they are all kind of going left. I guess I need to turn my feet. So overall, when it comes to the mallet, you know, I'm actually pretty decently impressed. All those are pleasant. I don't think any of them are going to win any awards, but they're all above average, and I really like to see that a lot. It was pleasant. I have no issues regarding any of them. The only thing is with the Bigga ball, it does spring off the putter a little bit more, which I would expect from a golf ball that, you know, has a little bit more of a price tag behind it. I would expect it to have a little bit more pop, if you know what I mean. Now we're going to go to our blade putter, and let's see how we do here. Okay, yeah. Definitely springs off a lot. I tried to take a lot off, and I did. So that's interesting. In drier conditions, it would definitely roll a lot more. Pulled it a little bit. Boy, my putting's just not been good lately. You know, again, the sound, I'm noticing the sound a little bit more. It's definitely louder than it was with the mallet now that we don't have as much weight back there. But it still has a low, low feel. I can slightly feel it in the hands, which is great. It's not obnoxious, so it maintains all that, but now the sound is a lot higher, but that's the putter. That's not the ball, obviously. Now we get into the athletic works. Sound is still low. It actually is not any louder. I don't hear much of a difference there. I still feel the feedback, which is great. Yeah, the roll seems pretty good. I think I like the roll a little bit better with the mallet, but it's close. They're both still pretty decent rolls. I'm actually surprised. Then when it comes to the Nitro, let's see what we got here. Okay. A little heavy coming off, actually. Definitely some chug. Yeah, not a true roll there. I like what it's doing there, though. I'm getting some consistency now. But yeah, just it's okay. The sound is a little more. When I say hollow, now it actually is kind of sounding a lot like you would think, like a traditional hollow sound. I don't care for that, but it's not obnoxious. It's just a little different. Come on, come back, come back. All right. Yeah, so they're all better than I thought they would be. Really, the mallet putter shines here more than the blade does. The blade's not bad, but I'm starting to get some weird sounds. It sounds a little hollow. Not super hollow like an old 90s Top Flight, but a little bit of that in there. I would say the Bigga ball does pretty decent for the most part, but all three of those with a mallet putter I would have no issue with. There was barely any chug. I did start to notice some roll inconsistencies with the blade a little bit. Maybe some of that is because of me, but when it comes to the mallet, though, it was a lot more tighter. So let's get over to the feel and let's see how these golf balls feel coming off the irons. All right, starting with the Bigga ball. Let's see what we got here as far as feel. Miss hit, definitely felt like I lost some power. Wasn't a great swing, but as far as the miss hit feels so far, unless anything changes, I'll call that a 3 out of 5. It's not bad, but I hate the loss of power. It does feel like I didn't get a lot on it. Yeah, I mean, 4 out of 5 on pure hits. It feels really good. It's got a softness to it. There isn't a ton of feedback in the hands. I'd say it's low, but it feels like it really explodes off, and you do get a kind of a good, subtle feeling of like, yeah, I got a hold of that one, which is great. So it's not perfect, but it gets the job done. Pretty good strike. Okay, 3 out of 5 on pure hits so far. If anything changes, but yeah, I mean, it's all right. This is a toughie because if you do really miss-hit this golf ball, it's around a 2 out of 5, but slight miss-hits, excuse me, which is kind of all I'm really gauging out here, it's a 3 out of 5. So it's a 3 out of 5 regardless. It's not bad. It's not the worst I've seen, but it's not going to win any awards. You know what I mean? So it's all right, but it is better than I kind of thought. I thought this was going to be kind of rockish, but two-piece technology's come a long way. That might be the nicest of the 3. That's surprising. That's really surprising. Let me validate the parking here. Okay, so miss hit is a 3 out of 5. It kind of feels like the Bigga ball. Like it's not bad, but I just feel like I lost a lot of power. I need one more pure. I gotta see if that's the real deal or not because it's close to a 5. That's what's insane right now. It is. I'm sorry. That's a 5. Wow, that's a 5 because it has the crispiness. It has the slight press for feedback. It explodes off the club. You feel like you really got a hold of it. It kind of checks every single box that I look for in a field test. That's one of the biggest surprises of the year. I am shocked. I tested the Nitro, what was it, Pulsar Elite last year. One of the worst golf balls I'd ever tested. I expected this to be the same. It's been sitting on my shelf for a year because I just have been putting it off. I might have been wrong. Let's see how these numbers are. I know it's early, but we'll see.
All right, let's talk some data numbers. We're going to start, as always, with the 50-yard pitch, backspin, RPM. And when it comes to these golf balls, this is what we're looking at, starting with the Bigga ball. It is 7,025, which is relatively low. It tries to launch high, as you can see, at 31.7 to make up for that lack of spin, but there is some spin inconsistency there. Then when we get to the Athletics Work ball, 6,577 is mediocre, and that's being very generous. I know it's trying to launch really high at 33.2 to try to make up for that, but again, that's just such a low spin number that high launch isn't really going to help it, especially on a windy day. And so the Nitro there, 8,495. I got to be honest, I was really surprised. I put the Nitro down, I hit it, I kind of had this look on my face, kind of like, I just looked back, and then it said over 8,000, and my eyes lit up, and I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe I struck it really good, and then I hit another one, and another one, and another one. Consistently, this golf ball was over 8,000. It had the best consistency of the three, which sounds weird when it comes out loud out of my mouth, but it's the real truth. It absolutely was the best of the three, especially when it came to that 50-yard pitch. And it also had the best kind of optimal launch angle as well. It's impressive. I don't know what to tell you. We'll see how that goes throughout the test. Getting into now the pitching wedge full shots. As you can see here, the Bigga ball had a really good ball speed at 96.9. The spin number was still relatively low, so you're not going to get much checkup with it, unfortunately. It may be more like a distance two-piece golf ball. 124.1 is in the green, 124.6 is in the green, and 1.23 on the smash factors in the green as well. Then when we look at the Athletic Works, unfortunately that ball speed is really low. I mean, let's be honest, everything's in the red there. I'm losing about 5 yards. Not good spin, so I'm not getting optimal spin. I'm not getting a really good distance number either. So that's the opposite of having your cake and eating it too. That's having no cake and being hungry. Not great. The Nitro, on the other hand, those numbers initially look like they're at least decent, but I had to kind of adjust them because I swung a little too fast, 79.6. So that 95.6 mile an hour ball speed actually turns down a little bit. And then when it comes to the distance, I kind of had to adjust that as well. So the Bigga ball actually is the standout of the three there. The other two are just okay. Now, I will say with the Nitro, at least you are getting some decent spin. That spin number will hold a green, so that's kind of consistent with the 50-yard we saw as well. However, when it comes to the Athletic Works, I just don't see anything there positive at all. So anyway, we'll move on. Now we look at the 7-iron, and we are looking at the Bigga ball again coming in clutch. This golf ball explodes off the club. Now that 85.7 is just slightly fast, but I'll be real, I don't care. 119.1 is the best I have seen this year so far, and I'm getting a great spin number on top of that. So this golf ball explodes, and that's having your cake and eating it too. So now we've kind of switched there. 168.2 is an amazing distance number. 169.6, amazing. The smash factor is incredible. Athletic Works, again, I'm glad the golf ball is spinning. That's great, especially for a two-piece. These golf balls have increased their spin over the last few years for sure. The technology's come a long way. But distance-wise, ball speed-wise, just nothing there. When it comes to the Nitro, though, the Nitro does spin a decently healthy amount, at least barely in the green. It doesn't do anything fantastic there with the numbers and the ball speed, but it is all at least in the yellow, so it's tracking along. So the Bigga right now, the problem I have is that the 50-yard pitch was just kind of, well, I'll just say it, not great. But so far, pitching wedge and 7-iron have been great as far as a two-piece distance golf ball. It could still have a market. The Nitro actually is kind of holding its own. It's keeping its head above water. We'll see if that changes with the driver. Athletic Works at this point is just not looking very good, is it? All right. Getting into the driver now, as you can see, the Bigga ball is again all in the green. Those numbers aren't going to light up the scoreboard. They're not going to set any records this year, but still, being in the green is a big deal. In fact, all three of these golf balls had amazing spin numbers. They're all low off the driver, which is great. The Athletic Works at least gets bumped up to average now when it comes to the driver, and that doesn't surprise me. It's an 85 compression. It is a little firmer. The driver is where it should shine. it's shining. So, you know, I mean, yeah, that's good. The Nitro Ultimate Distance actually is in the green when it comes to distance. Ball speed wasn't the best, but as far as just having the optimal launch angle and having the optimal spin, I was able to get in the green and even get a green smash factor out of it, which is really, really impressive, excuse me, because the Nitro ball I just had no expectations with. I tested the Nitro Pulsar Elite last year, and it was one of the worst golf balls I had tested. So going into this, I did kind of have this pre-notion that I was like, well, Nitro, whatever, it's going to be dog water. It's not dog water. It's actually kind of holding its head above just a little bit, just barely. It's not, like I said, it's not going to light up the scoreboard, but it's there. You know, it exists. All right, so with that being said, now this is going to be another interesting test here. We need to find out how accurate and consistent these golf balls are. Let's go over to the computer. Let's look at the dispersion charts. Let's look for any yellow or red flags.
All right, starting with the Bigga ball, if we look at the 50-yard pitch, yeah, most of those are pretty good. And there's actually a good clump right there at the middle. Looks like a couple of them kind of came up short, but for the most part, those are pretty good. I think if you can dial in your consistency, you'll be fine. When it comes to the pitching wedge, I gotta say, I really love the distance control. Now, when it comes to accuracy, you know, I did kind of spray it all over the green, and it wasn't perfect. There might even be one short, might even be one left and right. But the majority of those dots, look how consistent they are with distance control. That's actually really impressive. So if you're someone who needs a little help with that, this could be a viable option. And then if we look at the 7-iron, it's the same thing. Accuracy isn't perfect by any means, but the distance control is one of the best I've seen so far, so that's great. Then if we look at driver, again, accuracy not great, and distance control pretty spot on. So this golf ball may not be the most accurate one I've tested, but it has incredible distance consistency. Then when we get into the athletic works, 50-yard pitch is kind of all over the place. It's very inconsistent. And I also got really inconsistent spin when it comes to the 50-yard pitch, and that could be why that is as well. So not great for the short game. Pitching wedge isn't bad. I mean, you've got one that's really short there, but the rest of them are at least, you know, somewhat close, pretty average on accuracy and average on distance. It works. 7-iron is really good. There's 2 far pushes, 2 slight pulls, but the majority of them are right there. That's actually pretty good for a 7-iron. I'm impressed. And then when we come to the driver, the accuracy is actually really, really, really good, and the consistency is pretty good as well. So even though this golf ball didn't have a lot of, you know, boom potential, it just kind of stays in the middle and stays average or below average, but at least it stays a little bit consistent. So that's good. I don't see any red flags or yellow flags here. It's not great, though. This golf ball just hasn't had a super impressive showing, but I can understand that. All right, and last but not least, we have the Nitro, and looking at the 50-yard pitch, that's actually pretty good. Not bad. Had one flyer, but other than that, the rest of them are pretty close there. That'll give me an opportunity. Then when we look at the pitching wedge, you know, accuracy is really just okay, mediocre, but the distance control is actually pretty good. So, and if you look at the majority of those in the middle there, I'm actually pretty impressed with that. So, you know, there's some positives there for sure. When we get to the 7-iron, though, that's where you can really tell the forgiveness on this golf ball. I did struggle with it, and this is where it's apparent. The accuracy is all over the place. The farthest right and the farthest left are, you know, 15, 20 yards away from each other. That's a lot. And then, you know, distance control is all over the place. However, when we get to driver's really nice. Off the tee, this golf ball really had some good consistency as well as accuracy. Those are all in the middle of the fairway, which is great. So I'm impressed with the driver, but everything else just kind of, and I think that's kind of how all these golf balls are. You know, it's kind of boom or bust really when it comes to these. I see some that I'm like, wow, that's really impressive. And then I see some that I'm like, ugh, might be a little bit of a red flag, but nothing across, you know, no golf ball across the board really sweeps here, but that's all right.
All right, so before I give you my closing thoughts, we're going to talk about durability here. And let's start with the Bigga ball. Now, this is the DuPont Surlyn. I expect this to do really, really well. Looking at it, you know, you can tell it's beat up. You can tell I've hit it a lot. There's some paint kind of starting to fade. I definitely question the quality of the paint that's being put on it, maybe the outer cover, the outer, like, thin layer. But for the most part, it looks pretty good. You know, I'll call it a 9 out of 10. I mean, I can still keep playing with this. I trust it. I had hoped for a 10 out of 10 because usually DuPont Surlyn does get the best scores I've seen, but this is still really good. It's a 9 out of 10. Let's not split hairs, okay? That's a really good score, especially for that price point. I would expect it to at least be a 9 with a $30 price point. Then when we get into the athletic works, this golf ball just looks so cheap. I mean, I'll just be real with you. It's got shavings coming off the side of it. It looks sandpapery. It feels sandpapery. The paint's wearing off. You know, the alignment tool's got paint's wearing off. All around it, it looks like an old yard ball. You know what I mean? That's what it really looks like. And I'm not trying to just hate on it, but like if you look at it, if I go out to my bucket right now of yard balls and I like threw this in the middle and I said, hey, you know, find one I just tested. It would take you 180,000 tries before you got this one. It just really would. As far as the actual durability, 5 out of 10. And I think that's being nice. It's so rough to the touch. I wouldn't trust it putting anymore. Flying, I'd be iffy about, but putting for sure. I mean, this thing's gonna... Anyway. Last up, we have the Nitro. And the Nitro, as an overall, doesn't look too bad, but there's a couple really bad scuff marks. The paint's definitely wearing off there. There's a bad scuff mark on the alignment tool as well. It just kind of looks rough all over. This is definitely going to be a 6 out of 10. Feeling it... I don't really think I would trust it putting anymore, but let's also be honest. Any of these golf balls I just mentioned, you're probably going to lose at least 1 or 2 a round because you probably wouldn't be purchasing them if you can actually get through a whole round with one ball. But, you know, it gets the job done. If for some reason you play on a really big course and you have an amazing day, I think it'll get you mostly through a round, but after that it's got to be tossed. I just wouldn't trust it putting or chipping or anything like that anymore. Okay, so... these golf balls are a nice change of pace. They're fun. I want to talk real quick. Let's just start with Bigga Golf Ball. Does Bigga Golf Ball have a market? Who is it for, in my opinion? You know, Bigga Golf, like I said, these guys are really nice. I appreciate what they're trying to do. You know, they have a charity about testicular cancer for men, you know, obviously on there. It's cool. They donate to that. But I also have to look at the golf ball market. $30 a dozen is just really high for like a 2-piece golf ball. And I assume it's a 2-piece golf ball. You didn't mention that, but based on everything I've seen, I'm assuming that because just based off the phrasing. But it would be nice if you put it on your website as well, just honest feedback. But when it comes to that price point, it doesn't spin enough. It doesn't check up enough. It doesn't have enough wow factor for me to be like, hey, I know you could get all these AAA 2-piece golf balls for a fraction of the price, but spend a little bit more on this no-name you've never heard of. It's hard for me to make that argument, and you're not the first one. You won't be the last. Next up, we get into the athletic works. Does this golf ball have a market? Who is it for? No one. Listen, if this golf ball, I understand at a certain point you can get this golf ball for 50 cents a piece, but you can do the same thing with top flight golf balls, and top flight golf balls at least have some decent numbers. When I test those, they at least have, you know, a decent durability, decent numbers. There is something with each top flight golf ball I can point to and say, okay, this would be good for you, or this would be good for this person, or that. I mean, do that instead of this. There's better options, and especially like the Precept Laddie at $1 a golf ball. There's so many options now. I don't see this Athletic Works being worth anything. I really don't care for the design at all. It looks cheap. It feels cheap. It looks like something from 20 years ago, and I just think there's too many golf balls on the market now for it to compete. Just, you know, some harsh truth, unfortunately. When it comes to the Nitro, on the other hand, look, if you find one of these on the course, can you use it? Yeah, the ultimate distance actually isn't bad. It had the 5 out of 5 feel. It really surprised me. There was a couple times through this test that I legit was like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And I give some serious bonus points for that. I thought it was going to be one of the worst of the worst. It wasn't. It had a really cool feel, actually. That's amazing how that technology's come along in the last few years, especially over the last 20. It's amazing. Numbers-wise, it's cheap. You can get it for $10 a dozen. But you know what you also can get for $10 a dozen? The Boost, baby. And we all know what the Boost is. We know what it's about. So I think the big problem with a lot of these golf balls is that you have to stand out, right? Any of these 2-piece models, and when you come in at $1 a golf ball or in $2.50 a golf ball if you're in Bigga Ball's case, I think the problem is you have to stand out. You have to really stand out either with your numbers or your marketing or your designs or something. You have to set yourself apart, and I just didn't see a lot of that today. A lot of this was just you know, and when you've tested 10 golf balls, can sometimes work. When you've tested over 200 like I have, gets pushed to the bottom really, really fast. So that's just some constructive feedback. It was really fun to do this. I hope some of you learned something. As always, keep watching, keep saving, keep learning. Until next time, I'll see you soon.